Boom, boom.
And that is all. Thank you for my TED Talk.
Welcome to that hour-long TED Talk.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's definitely more to talk about with this, and I'd be interested in talking to people that are much more informed on these things.
I'm glad you said that.
I'm waiting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. That was all I was going to say.
I was just going to say I'm waiting for Ɩnternational to give us a Bertrand Russell quote.
No.
I'm sure that's a quote somewhere. I'm sure he said that at some point.
How much weed can you fit in a teapot that's floating around Jupiter?
Mm-hmm. That's the real question.
It depends on the.
Go, Ɩnternational. Go. Tell us.
How much weed can you fit in a teapot floating around Jupiter?
Mm-hmm.
That would depend.
Whatever planet you want.
How about my living room? That way I can grab it and smoke it.
All right.
And there you go.
I don't know that your living room is a celestial body, but whatever.
It works for me, though.
Oh, he's high enough for it to
Depends
be.
what you mean by celestial body. Let's get specifics of
You
this.
guys haven't
Uma
seen it, but
Thurman?
my
Yeah,
dog's
I
got
know.
the cone on, so it can just orbit her head. My dog's got the cone on right now because she's got a sore on her leg. Come here, Bailey. Come here.
You don't have to shame her.
Cone of shame. Come here, cone of shame. Poor pupper.
Hi. Aw, you poor doggy. How dare you, Ɩnternational? How dare you?
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Tonight's main attraction. I present to you International Freethinkers. You're listening to the We Are Sober podcast.
Hello.
Good day, everyone.
Oh, sorry. Was I really loud in your ear?
No, I was just saying, like, that was different.
That was different.
Yeah, the opening's new.
Someone messed with my settings. I don't know. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Did I break it?
Who did the voice on that?
None other than, hold on, let me find Mathew Randall.
Hello.
Did the
Thanks for your
voiceover.
beautiful voice.
Thank you, Mathew Randall, for your sultry, beautiful voice. Very gracious of you. And also to Mikey Famine, because he helped fix the little audio behind it to make it clean and audible. So
Very fancy.
very
I
fancy.
was wondering where you went with that.
I didn't go anywhere, actually. They said,
Mhm.
hey, I help. So it's nice. It truly was magic. And I'm glad you're here. Oh, hi, Lemon. Mwah. Hello, everyone. Welcome. New week, brand new week, fun week, great week. I have a headache. It's not a fun week. I do. Work is bothering me. And it's just more so the workload, but like just ignorant people. But anyway, how are
That's
you
always
guys this
fun.
week? Oh, yeah. Ignorant people are fun. Mm-hmm.
My work week was average this week. I felt like I got a fair amount done and learned some more stuff because I'm in a new position. But,
Have you
my
been
work
in
week's not what I'm excited about right now. My round of disc golf today is what I'm excited about. I shot a -7 today. It was an awesome round.
All right, everyone, put disc golf on your bingo cards, please.
Yeah, right.
We'll be collecting them at the end of the night, and anyone who gets a bingo will get a prize.
If this show had a bingo card, you guys are just like typical. It's typical to what would be on your bingo cards, basically. That's fun.
Maybe one of these weeks I won't mention disc golf, and that'll surprise people.
Well, then we'll think there's something up with you. We'll be like, Ollieman,
There
are
is
you
something
okay?
seriously
We'll be like,
wrong.
there's something wrong. Like the world has ended for Ollieman if he doesn't mention doing disc golf.
Yes,
Disc
thank you,
bingo.
Tones of Mice. Disc bingo. Accurate. Very accurate. And thank you, Matthew. Justin,
Yes.
you look fancy. You look like your computer is running so efficiently. Do tell.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. Never mind.
I mean,
was trying-
I've fully upgraded it over the past couple weeks, but
That's fun.
same camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we did upgrade StreamYard.
We did upgrade StreamYard. We are now officially 1080p.
Yay.
Yay!
10 years ago, but yeah.
Yeah. Because, we can finally afford it, I guess. I don't know.
Making all that sponsorship money.
Making all that sponsorship money, and all of you who, directly route your bank accounts to us.
StreamYard runs on thoughts and prayers.
Appreciate it. Thoughts and prayers and your money. Mostly your money. I like it. Well, then, I don't know. What else? What? I have a TB test tomorrow. Oh, yeah. I like getting those. Those are fun. I actually like giving TB tests. They're easy. And congratulations on the new job, Helen. Good for
Yes. Hells.
Yeah.
Congrats.
you. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. So wait, Ollieman, how long have you been in this new position?
About almost 2 months now. Almost 2 months.
I don't know why I just thought you were just going back to work. I didn't think it was officially a new position, but okay.
Well, no, I started this new contract about 3.5 months ago, and a month and a half in, I got promoted to a different level. So I'm doing much more complicated work now than what I was before. So, and when I say complicated, I mean, there was one case there yesterday. I was an hour and a half just on one case trying to figure out all the payments that went to the wrong spots and put them in the right spots. It was like really complicated stuff. So, but I mean, it was I found it fun because I like working at numbers. So.
Well, that's fun. Well, you got to do what you got to do for that paycheck. Am I right?
That's right.
You say it like that.
I don't know. Stop making fun of me. Anyways, okay, fine. Moving on. Moving on. Okay, so yes, vax mandates. They're happening all across the country, maybe all around the world. I don't know. I don't follow world news all that great. I apologize. But definitely something I noticed, especially not just work, but just in my state alone. And just the beautiful, lovely memes behind, people, crying their eyes out because they will potentially lose their job if they don't get vaccinated.
Oh, poor babies.
It's actually hilarious
Go get
to
a
watch.
fucking vaccination.
You've probably had multiple already.
Yeah, and that's the kicker too. With when I hear those that have had previous vaccines, flu shot every year, everything else you have to get throughout life, and then once it comes to the COVID one, they're like, no,
That's one step too far.
they're forcing me to take it, so I definitely won't take it. That makes sense. I don't know. Okay, so are either of you being forced in your workplaces?
Well, I work from home, so they wouldn't have had to force us for that reason.
I mean, your
But,
dog could get COVID.
I guess.
I work-
Yeah.
I work at a public university, so there was a mask mandate, and then they relaxed it, and then about a week ago they re-implemented the mask mandate. But this week is move-in date, and then rush week is next week. So it's just chaos, like absolute chaos. For facilities workers, I don't know if it's mandated, but they are tracking it. Like, we had to log into an app and submit copies of our vaccine cards and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read through the emails and the all the stuff that came out about it, because I've been vaccinated since like March or April now. So it's just like, well, just tell me when to get the booster, I guess. But there's a lot of places around here that are mandating it, and I know that they're tracking it, and they either want there's an app that we're using that anytime you enter a building, you have to show your screening form on the app or the vaccination status on it for going in any building.
Huh.
Very fancy.
Interesting. What about you, Roland?
I mean, I work for a very small firm, and it's like the person in charge, there's like 12 people in the entire office.
Mm-hmm.
So, and most of them have been vaccinated. None of them are like, I refuse because of these reasons. I think pretty much almost everybody has gotten vaccinated, and it sounds like our boss sent us like an email out maybe like a month or so ago, kind of like what our plans are going forward. He wants us to come back to the office at least 3 times a week, pretty much. And he said he wants everyone to get vaccinated. I think, again, most people are. I think only like 1 or 2 aren't. And so he's like, I'm going to talk to those people and try to figure out what's up, or kind of push them in the right direction or nudge them. But, that's kind of the extent. I had to do research on employers being able to mandate vaccination. So that was fun. Because we represent a lot of public employees and just people who are in unions and stuff like that. So they wanted to know what's the employer's ability to force people into vaccinations.
Right. So I know as far as when it comes to private businesses, they can enforce what they choose, and pretty much to certain limitations. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Justin or whoever, that you can only impose so much, but you can mandate for or give them a deadline. The one thing that's pissing me off is, the typical religious exemption aspect. And once Multi gets here, he'll probably touch more on with the state of Washington. But you can definitely, in certain cases, get religious exemption, just like anything else. That's nothing new. But I just think, well, obviously.
Yeah. So the way it works was the EEOC released some guidance, maybe. They've been releasing guidance throughout the year, throughout the COVID, and then I think in maybe March or May they released some more specific guidance about mandatory vaccinations. It basically says, yes, you can make vaccines mandatory. However, you have to still follow within the guidelines of the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then the Title II, which again is the religious exemptions. And basically the two things are, if somebody shows that they have some sort of disability or some sort of condition that prevents them from being vaccinated, you have to make reasonable accommodations, which can be they have to wear masks, they have to work from home, they have to be separated from everybody, whatever it is, within reason. If it's impossible for them to work from home, if it's impossible for them to do anything unless they get vaccinated, it's kind of more of you have more of a reason you might have a stronger reason to be able to terminate them, because it's like, we can't have you here. We cannot have you here for whatever reason. Same thing with religious exemptions. Those are pretty broad, so it's not just covers the typical religions or the really recognized ones, like Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, all that. It's kind of anyone's specific religious beliefs, just as long as it's some sort of religious belief, even if it's only your 5 friends you get together with and believe in this God together, that's still a religious belief, and they can't question that. You are able to actually question the validity of religious beliefs if there's some factors that kind of show that they really want this for another reason, and they're just using religion as an excuse. So if you have someone who claims, let's just say for the sake of argument that the vaccine was made using pork products or something, and you have someone who's Jewish or Muslim who's or a Jewish or Muslim person might not want to take it because it has pork products in it. Now, say you have someone who's they belong to maybe a Muslim family, but they drink, they don't do any of the holidays, they don't believe in any, they don't do anything that has to do with their religion at all. But then suddenly their religion matters when they don't want to take the vaccine. And it's okay, maybe you're just trying to get out of it and use this as an excuse. Or if they had asked previously for a secular reason and then they asked for a religious reason.
Wouldn't that be on par with most people and their religion and how they use it to?
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes,
so.
because it's pretty recognized that, like, you know, Muslim and Jewish people don't eat pork. So if there's some sort of thing that has to do with, like, pig products and they say, I don't want it, and it's like, or if it's not kosher or something, it's like, well, you can't really argue that that's not a genuine religious belief, because it's literally been around for, like, you know, however long. But, like, you know, it has to be a genuine religious belief of the person. So, you know, I can't, like, I'm not a very, like, you know, my family is Jewish, but I don't follow, like, any of the, you know, official duties and practices for Jewish reasons. Like, I don't eat pork. Well, I do, but, like, not regularly. So it's like, you know, but if I suddenly showed up to work and been like, no, because of my Jewish faith that I do not follow except for this one specific reason, it might be a little bit, like, more of a reason to be able to challenge it and say it's not a legitimately sincere religious belief.
Fair. But depending on the state and depending on the organization, they could follow up and apply stricter questioning to, you know, have you back your really solid, I guess you could say, excuse for proposing a religious exemption. So yes. I know. Yeah. So instead of just answering just a couple of yes or no's, then they may follow up and say, okay, trying to get more deeper into your history of, okay, where in line did you stop going with receiving certain medications or certain procedures? And at what point are you now just deciding that you won't? So they really try to dig. Well, I mean, in this particular, what is that? Oh, yeah, what are you doing?
I'm busting up some pot. Every now and then I tap this together. If that's what you're hearing, I'm sorry.
Yeah, mute yourself. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, with going with what you were saying, yeah. So it's kind of presumed, you know, from the get-go that your religious belief is sincere, because they don't want people to just be constantly like digging into people's religious beliefs. But again, it's if there are factors that kind of show that maybe it's not sincere, you know, they asked just for a secular reason before. You know, they just said, I don't want the vaccine. Can I just not get it? And the employee's like, no, you have to get it unless you have a disability or religious. And they're like, oh, I have a religious exemption. It's like, okay, that's a little suspicious. If they, you know, again, it's one of those things where they have never followed religion at all. They've never listened to anything with their the tenets that they claim they're part of. And then suddenly, as soon as they need to get the vaccination, suddenly they're religious. You know, when there's factors like that, they can ask more questions. I know there's also there's some recent ones that came out in my state where you have to like sign a certification under perjury, like under threat of perjury, that like, you know, this coincides with my religious belief or I have a disability. I think right now it's mostly disabilities and religion exemptions. I think they had pregnancy before, but I think that might have been, I don't know how they affected that, because I thought there was something about how pregnancy has been, you know, they've shown that there hasn't been an adverse effect on it, but I don't know exactly.
Right. No, there has been enough study and investigation to show that there are no adverse effects when it comes to pregnant women. But when I had stated within the state of Washington, there is a certain form that private companies can utilize in order to really investigate if a person is really sincere about their religious exemption. And one of the questions, kind of reading it off the article here, was like, you assert that you have a sincerely held belief or religious conviction that prevents you from receiving the COVID vaccine, yes or no? And the question, they said, is a bit more controversial, which is you agree that you have never received a vaccine or medicine from a healthcare provider as an adult. And if they answer no, then it gets a little deeper than that.
Yeah, I mean, that I would, unless they can somehow show that, like, you know, again, like, say all the vaccines in the past have just been made of random other mechanisms, but then this one was made of pork for some reason. Like, they had pork products in it or whatever for some reason. You know, then maybe that would be a hard argument to sell, because you can say, well, this one is different because it has these specific components. But yeah, if the idea is that, oh, it's against my religious belief just to get a vaccine, it's like, okay, have you ever gotten a vaccine? It's like, well, yes. Or have you ever gotten one when you were an adult? That's not fair if you were a kid, obviously. But yeah, have you ever gotten a vaccine, past the age of 18? If they're like, well, yes, and it's like, not really. I
So
think the
then-
only part
Well-
that would be different is if they say they're 27 now and they only started joining their religion at like 22. So
I was
that's
just
when they
gonna
started.
comment on
Yeah,
that.
they started believing then. It's like, well, if they got stuff at 18, 19, well, it wasn't their religious belief then, but now it is. So there's that little wiggle room. So that might be the one issue with the question if it says in your life. But some people become
Sure.
Christian or whatever denomination at later in life.
Sure. I just want to touch on some of the comments because I know they're running by. Helen, I had a friend this week who refused to get vaccinated, got COVID, spread it to her kids, several family members, including her elderly parents. People were saying it was great. She was getting antibodies. What? That she?
I mean,
oh,
Yeah, they're basically saying it was good that she got.
Like a box party.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's stupid. Anyways. Oh, hey, Mikey. Nice to see you. What was I going to say? Oh,
Washington.
well, as far yeah, that's the Washington part. But as far as where my employers, they've the deadline this past Monday was for staff to go ahead and submit digitally proof of your COVID vaccinations. So, I mean, I did that weeks ago, blah, 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 handled that. And then the next deadline by September 30th, you must give yourself pretty much, if you haven't been vaccinated yet, give yourself from now until September 30th to go ahead and get that shit done. Please put that down. Thank you.
Violating TOS or Ɩnternational.
Go ahead and get that done. And then once you have that done, then of course you have that deadline to turn that in. But if you have not done so, then you're on an administrative leave without pay. And during that time, from now until September 30th, you have to get routine COVID testing at least twice a week.
Yeah, I think that's going to be standard for people that don't want to get vaccinated. Is they're going
Especially with
get,
healthcare.
They're going to get weekly or maybe multiple times a week COVID testing. So you can get the vaccine or get the swab, into your sinus multiple times a week.
Right.
That's the thing. It's people can say they don't want the vaccine, but they can't reject this stuff because it's like you gotta get tested. So they have to either decide that getting the vaccine or not getting the vaccine is worth going through all the testing and everything and having to wear masks and everything at their job.
Yeah, and you have to wear a mask and routine testing. Yeah. The places that I know of around here, the doctor's offices and things, they're giving them until the second week of September. And if you're not vaccinated at a doctor's office, you can't work there anymore. They've fired people, like at the one that my wife works at. They fired people that were medical assistants or receptionists that are, not doctors or nurse practitioners, telling people that they're not vaccinated and why. And it's just kind of undermining the whole practice.
It is. It certainly is.
And
I think
they're effective. I mean, they're not like intentionally, but they're effectively giving medical advice that's against the medical advice of not only their boss or the owners, but of the practitioners.
Right. It's essentially like you see a nurse that's a constant chain smoker. She smells like cigarettes, but she either is an educator or works within that department to, say, you're due for smoking cessation, whatever.
No, but it's worse than that. It's somebody that's smoking and telling other people that it's good to smoke. That smoking is good for you.
Yeah.
Or that not smoking is bad, or whatever it is. But it's like, it's like I do this and I do it for my, for whatever reasons, and these are good reasons, even though the doctors and everybody else might say otherwise. But I don't need to do that.
Right. No.
I mean, there's definitely hypocrites, and we know, or not hypocrites, but we're not all perfectly utilitarian. We don't always follow the best advice. We don't always follow our own advice. And, that's okay. But you can't tell other people, hey, this is the right thing to do.
If you're not doing it yourself.
Right.
Right.
Well, if you know that it's bad for you.
Right. I know one of the super contentious reasons for I won't just say anti-vaxxers, because they won't get it regardless. I say for most people that have been super hesitant or just refused to do it altogether was the fact that all of the vaccines were at one point or another just considered emergency use. And now, within the last week or so, now that Pfizer is now FDA approved, you still have those same people saying, well, nah.
There are a handful of people that I've seen saying that they're going to get it now that it's FDA approved.
That's true.
Not a lot, but there are some.
I was just going to say, aren't they the minority out of the people that have always been saying they're not going to get it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because most of the people that I interact with are either have gotten it already or are never going to get it. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say, like, the people that were fence sitters, because they're not very vocal about it.
I mean, that's kind of like where we're at this point, where it's most of the people who probably have been vaccinated have been in most cases, I feel, except for the people who are like maybe just hesitant, or the people who are just not going to get it.
Yeah, but fence sitters, like, in general, are not very vocal. They're not activists one way or the other. So it's hard to say how many people were just waiting or kind of hesitant or whatever it may be. I think it's different in that there's a lot of jobs that are transitioning to work from home. So there's a lot of people that don't have to leave their house or don't have to interact with a lot of other people. And if you're in that position, you can just say, well, I work from home. I don't have to leave. I don't have to interact with a lot of people. I can wear my mask when I need to. So there's not really a good, like, if I'm hesitant for any reason or on the fence, I'm just going to hold off getting the vaccine until I absolutely have to. And I think that's a common thing.
I agree. As far as I want to dial back on the religious exemption thing, because most would say that depending on the state, because yes, within our Constitution, it writes, I think within the 10th Amendment, I believe, something to the effect that the government can enforce certain mandates or requirements if it's for public health reasons, if it's public health necessary. But of course, at the state level, they have their own, I guess you could say, limited power as what they want to advise for what they want to do for their states. I mean, that's obvious. You can just a plain comparison from California to Florida, for example. But when it comes to religious exemptions, some would argue that the questioning of really understanding the reasoning, and I guess the questioning and really breaking down if it truly is a religious exemption versus someone just, claiming that it is a bit more harsher than perhaps, let's say, a school teacher that just happens to not want to get it for various other reasons, or for if it's just a medical reason. I think most people would feel it's a bit more harsh against a religious person than versus a person that has an actual medical reason not to. But is that fair? I think that's fair. Maybe. Should we not be harsher? I mean, obviously I don't see there being a true detriment just because of someone's faith to not be vaccinated. Obviously, there is a more physical detriment for a person that actually has physical medical reasons to not receive the vaccine. And we certainly, most of us, and maybe some of us, know a couple people that can't.
I think the problem is that they hold them at the same esteem. Like, if I had I don't know, diabetes or something. I don't know what it would be, but diabetes, and say that prevented me from getting vaccinated. And someone's like, "Oh, why aren't you vaccinated?" I'm like, "Oh, I have diabetes. I can't." They'd be like, "Oh, okay." They kind of understand like that it's a medical thing. If I get it, then I could suffer terrible health consequences. Or I don't know if that's an actual disease that prevents it, but let's just say it is. Now, if someone is like, "Oh, why didn't you get the vaccine?" And they say, "Oh, it's against my religion." Some people are more don't want to fight against that. They don't want to like argue with people because we hold religion in this high esteem. Whereas a lot of us would be like, that's a stupid reason. Like that, if but that's because from our point of view, getting a vaccine has no effect on your like spiritual self. Like your God's not going to hate you for getting the vaccine or etc. But like in their mind, that's what they believe, or they're pretending to believe in some cases. And so some people don't want to fight them on that, and they don't want to hurt their base by saying we're going to mandate it anyway. And they can't even under the law because we hold it in such a high esteem.
I mean, it's one thing to say that, and then on the flip side, when you have these preachers that keep protesting, false information, saying it's sugar water they're injecting you with, or demon serum, or whatever they want to fucking call it.
I wonder if that would be. I wonder if that would be allowed. Like, say someone genuinely believed that the vaccine contained pork products, and they were like, I cannot take it because I couldn't take it because it's against my religion. But then someone's like, no, actually, it's not made of pork products. Like the factual thing is, it is not made of pork products. I wonder if you could say you have no argument. Then you can't rely on your religious belief. It's just not true. I'm wondering how many people would be willing to fight back on that. Because if someone, say we have someone who's like, oh, it's made with the blood of like unbaptized children, and someone's like, no, it isn't. Like you can't rely on that as a basis for not getting it.
Don't give the anti-vaxxers an excuse to create an anti-vax religion.
Oh, jeez.
I think they would probably say that's not like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you want it for one reason, and then suddenly you want it for a religious reason. You might want to look at how.
To be fair, most of the ones that I come across that are very vocal and adamant are incredibly religious, and they're creationists, and they're against it because they think it has something to do with the devil and demons.
Yeah, that's right.
I posted this on Twitter the other day that we finally reached over 50% of Americans that accept evolution. And the reason that we're at such a low number is because most of the rest of them are creationists, right? And they believe in angels and demons and heaven and hell. That's like half of America. And we've been this way consistently, forever. So it's like there's a shit ton of people out there that literally believe in this stuff. And a lot of that is leading to other beliefs, and it's a lot of these beliefs are tied together with other conspiracies like Bill Gates and the government and New World Order and blah 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 and end times.
Microchip.
But there's a lot more people than I think we realize, and what we give everything credit for, or the situation credit for, that are out there.
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
Look at this. Hold on, I want to share something.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
No, I just want to share these two memes.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
there's one more. There's one more.
Pretty much though. There's going to be people who are like, oh, once it's FDA approved, I'll get it. It's like, all right, it is, or it's not FDA approved, I'm not going to get it. Like, okay, well now it is. I'm still not going to get it. Well, like, okay, might be another reason you're thinking about not getting it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I gotta find the other one. Don't mind me.
The woke community are killing me with the conspiracy theories. Yeah, especially early on. People were tripping early on. Like they're just intentionally injecting the Chinese with the virus because they're trying to kill off the population because there's too many of them. I'm like, what?
That's crazy, yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
They did a poor job of it because, like, it's like if you wanted to really wipe out a lot of the population, you would probably make something that is a little bit more fatal. Like, I'm not saying 1 to 2% is not like a good chunk, but like if you really wanted to wipe people out, like, wouldn't you want to make it a little bit higher? Or I don't know.
I mean, maybe. I'm not vaccinating because it's not FDA approved. The FDA just approved it. Well, I don't trust the FDA, so I'm still not vaccinated.
Yeah, no, really.
Then why would you even propose to say?
There's tons and tons of people that pretty much that exact conversation.
I believe it.
A lot of them were like, they don't trust the government. It's like, well, they obviously wouldn't trust the FDA. So the fact that the FDA hasn't approved it they don't care. Like, that has nothing to do with it if they don't trust the government in the first place.
I mean, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I can understand the hesitancy of people that are not within healthcare, but it's bullshit to me. And there is no excuse if you are a healthcare professional to not get it. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't understand.
Well, healthcare professionals are just as susceptible to conspiracies and
fair
faulty reasoning and faulty logic as anyone else. They just happen to be educated, in a certain narrow field, because they're not virologists and they're not immunologists, right? They just had some basic like undergrad courses on these things, right? Or most of them. There's not a lot of like immunologists that are going around and saying, well, yeah, based on, all these studies and all this data, I've come to the conclusion that vaccines are bad for you. It's people that have had like adjacent studies and adjacent education to this that think they know what's going on, and have applied what limited understanding and knowledge they have to their other poor beliefs and poor reasoning, and it's kind of amplified it.
I mean, that's fine, but you don't necessarily have to have all that background to make rational conclusions and actually apply the critical thinking and the knowledge of whatever education that you have to get to the position that you're in.
No, you don't. But that's just to say that people that are in healthcare are, just as susceptible to, fallacious reasoning as anyone else.
I'm just a little bit harder on them. I'm sorry. That's all. I can't keep track of the conspiracy theories anymore. Trying to make sense of them is driving me to drink. Yeah, you trade COVID to alcoholism. Yeah. Let me see here. There's one other thing I wanted to mention. I mean, besides the different myths and facts, like, oh, the COVID vaccine will make you magnetic, or they're implanting a 5G microchip.
Did you see the video of the lady that stuck a magnet to her face and it just fell off, like in front of like the state Congress or something?
Yes.
You guys are out of your damn minds.
I'm
It's on
like,
video. She's
It's
like, and it just falls off. And it's a key though, and it's brass, and they're not magnetic to begin with. That was like the example.
That's funny.
Oh, don't be frustrated. They're just people, just as vulnerable to false blah blah blah, whatever you just said.
And the real frustration is that, like, so we know that people are bad at reasoning. We know that we're not always logical. We know that we're not always reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know how to communicate with people that are not reasonable, right? So it's like, I know 20 or 30 or 40% of the population is just, we can't convince them by reason and logic. But all that's the only tool that we have. It's the only tool that we employ. And we're not even trying other things, while these communities that do convince them otherwise are using, like, fear and conspiracy theories and more intimate relationships in these like groups.
But okay.
So, but we're just like, oh, I gave you the pamphlet. How come you don't understand?
But it's not like, okay. Yes, the other side has, did their conspiracy theories and implemented their fear. But I mean, there is genuine fear from just seeing people on TV in hospitals, on beds, and intubated and things like that. And they can't just make the connection like, oh, this is legit. This is serious. And with the upsurge that we have now, it's ridiculous that we have it now, more, almost nearly as much as we had it last year. So that, I don't know if I can really agree with that when you say that we don't do enough as far as, you know, just relaying the facts, just laying it out there and telling people like this is happening. We need to fix this.
Yeah, I mean, we have to keep disseminating the information in, you know, the most digestible way that we can. Like, I'm not saying that that's not something that we should be doing. It's just we are treating it as if it's their fault that they don't understand. In some cases, we know that people are spreading misinformation, disinformation. They're being dishonest, and they're profiting off of it. But just like religion, like when you were a Christian, was it your fault that you were a Christian? Was it your fault that you believe these things? You know what I mean? And if somebody just gave you, you know, the atheist guide to being atheist over and over again, you know,
someone write that book, please.
Yeah. So like if we just handed that to you every week and then like got mad at you for not being an atheist, you know, how effective is that going to be? Like, I don't know any other way to do it. Right.
A mandate.
So yeah, I mandate you to be atheist, but I don't know any other way to do it. But it's like, you know, it's a tough position to be in.
No, oh, that's fair. That's fair, and I think, and it's funny because I can be a bit more, less harsh and more understanding when it comes to other subject matter, but when it comes to like my trigger topics like this, I'm a bit like, no, that doesn't make sense. There's no excuse. Blah blah blah.
Even when I believe that God created the universe and heaven and earth and time and magic and things like that, I still believe in vaccines. So
yeah, I mean, like, again, I was a believer, and all I kind of thought was like, oh, the 7 days he's talking about, that's just 7 days for God, but that's, you know, million of years for us, you know, with all the
funny how we rationalize that.
And I was just like, that makes, like, I don't see how you know, there's all this stuff about how like time is different in space, so it's like, yeah, it makes sense that it's 7 days for God is millions of years for us. That's fine. And I was just like, you know, I was just like, it's fine, it makes sense. But now I'm like, okay, it makes sense, and that doesn't have to do anything with it.
Right. I was literally told when I was younger that 1 day on Earth is a millennia in heaven. I'm like, whoa. Like, you just,
that's so cool.
Mind blown, man.
Like,
that was the first time Jena had
that?
weed.
Right. This is your mind on religion.
This was my heavenly contact high. It's my mind on religion.
And I'm not.
Stop it.
I'm not saying we should do anything different. I mean, I think we're slowly getting there, and I think it's like, I mean, there's so many people saying, yeah, you should take the vaccine, but I don't support mandating it. And it's like, then what do? Right? You convince them to take it. Then what if you can't? What if 30% of the people never take the vaccine? Right? Then
they lose their job in most cases.
Yeah, but then we have, you know, a huge economic crisis that's going to cause far more deaths than the COVID will, or, you know, or maybe, but you have to weigh these things, right?
I mean, maybe, because it's like, if, you know,
if they're just at home alone,
however many people who don't want to take the vaccine, like, you know, eventually they're going to need money and they're going to need it. But if all the people who got vaccinated and are reasonable take over their jobs, it's like, well, you know, like, you could have just gotten the vaccine and kept your job, but you decided that this random nonsense, you that makes sense to you. Give the vax away in Happy Meals. I'm sure it will work.
That might work. And
that might work, actually. Good job.
There's this like funny, like, this is like a parody of what could happen is you have someone pretend that they're like a homeopath and that they're mixing, you know, all natural, like, sort of concoction, but they have to inject it into you, but it's all natural, everything's good, but then you just swap it out with the vaccine and you just prick them with it. They think they're getting some like all natural nonsense that you just brewed up that has nothing to do with the FDA and it's all homeopathic. It's like, no, we just got you with the vaccine. That's not ethical, but it would be hilarious. It's not ethical.
Magic crystals.
I do not suggest you do that, but it would be funny-ish, sort of.
What? That is terrible.
That is terrible.
Well, that is kind of horrible.
This is how Rollin experiments on people.
Can you not?
It's not
put
experimenting.
Out...
We know the vaccine is fine.
No, but you are making a lot of suggestions and creating ideas.
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying it would be interesting.
Well,
this is not advice. Do not follow this.
Please don't follow Rollin's advice. They don't. They know not what they do.
Rollin's words do not represent the views and opinions of anyone.
Thank you.
If you're gonna poison them with the Bill Gates China virus, you gotta at least tell them China vaccine, whatever they're calling it.
Just put it in the horse tranquilizers they're all taking.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So, do you guys think business owners should be able to mandate people having vaccines or else they can't work there? Do you guys think that is something that should be allowed?
Yeah, especially if it's a vaccine that affects other people, because you have someone who isn't vaccinated, they could get customers who can't get vaccinated sick, they can get other people sick, and it's all just because of, again, if they have a medical excuse, okay, that makes sense. But if it's just, I think it's made of the blood of babies, then no, that's not a valid reason for you to not get vaccinated or stuff like that.
No, I agree 100%. I say,
yeah, they're allowed to. They can mandate a lot of stuff. They, schools mandate vaccines for kids, and you can't go if you can't go. If you don't want to work there because it mandates vaccine, then I guess you got to open up your own business and not mandate it.
Yeah.
There's kind of this line of just go somewhere else to work, where it's, but in this one, it's this isn't exploitative. It's just science.
Because on the other flip side, you can have a business that doesn't give a flying fuck and they don't man that thing. And you can be an individual working there that actually genuinely cares about their safety, and you're concerned and you're not allowed to work from home. Your employer wants you there. People within the workplace may demonize you and look at you strange for even trying to wear a mask in their presence.
Yep. No, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, and then in that case, you either stay in this environment where people are just willy-nilly with their vaccinations, or you leave and find a place that supports it, and then kind of the other way around. If you're a person who doesn't want to get vaccinated, but your employer says, no, you must be vaccinated to work here, and then you say, well, I don't want to, then it's okay, you can leave and find a place that doesn't care if you're vaccinated. And there's going to be places out there, as we're all happy for places that mandate it, because we're that's good, that follows the science, we want you to do that. There's going to be places that they don't care about it, and you're going to have to go there. And our hope is that eventually more places kind of embrace science and things like that, and they believe that they can get the right people to show up to the job, and the people who don't, then they got to deal with the consequences of that.
No, exactly. I mean, I'm thinking even if the business owner isn't thinking about it from what's best for the public health, the business owner should be thinking about what's best for my business.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I let somebody come in here that's got COVID and they haven't gotten vaccinated, and suddenly they spread COVID to everybody that works here, I got to shut down, and I'm not producing what I need, and I'm going to go out of business. Right?
That's true.
So
that's true.
And if you're dealing with the public, you could be spreading it to the public, and then suddenly you get a bad name in the community, and the public stops wanting to do business with you.
I have a question for people. If polio, if we had a polio pandemic and we were just coming out with the vaccine, how many people, so we know of polio, we know the stories, we know from hand down knowledge, or some maybe firsthand, of what polio did or what it does.
Mm-hmm.
But what do we think the paralysis rate of polio is? What do you guys think?
No idea.
I don't know. Yeah,
Don't
that's
know
the one thing
polio.
a lot of people cite about it is COVID's only 1% to 2% or something, or less than whatever percentage it is. So if it was
polio,
higher,
polio had a 1% paralysis rate.
Interesting.
Right. Very low.
And if polio was pandemic and we were just rolling out the vaccine, and only 1% of the people were being paralyzed, back then they were lining up around the block to get the vaccine.
Sure as hell were.
1% of the people was important, but I think it is because it affected children primarily.
Mm-hmm.
So and like 2 to 5% or something like that had minor symptoms, and the rest basically was asymptomatic or very, very minor. And like 1 in 200 out of the paralyzations led to death, right? So in terms of case fatality rate and severe effects of the disease, COVID is just as bad or worse than polio, but we're not treating it the same. If polio was endemic and we had a vaccine and people weren't getting it, they would be fired immediately. There wouldn't be a conversation about it.
I mean, I think a big component is back then they didn't have things like the internet where like you could like I wasn't there during the polio thing, but I don't know how many people were like probably espousing. I wasn't. I know you're all surprised, but like I don't think there were that many people going around like spouting off the conspiracy theories that they have now. Even if there were, they couldn't spread it that far. You know, maybe there were small towns that maybe believed in it, but now it's like if some random guy in Bumblefuck wherever puts something on Twitter and it's spread, suddenly people from all over the place know about it, and if they spread it to their friends, then they know about it, and it's just, you know, kind of cascades and everything. Because the same thing, like the original case that they're talking about, or I think they're with the Spanish flu or something. There are people who are anti-mask then, but it's like, you know, there weren't crazy conspiracies going around about it, so there was isolated people in isolated spots.
And yeah, exactly that. I was just gonna follow up saying the same thing, but to Helen's point, I think I had mentioned this before. In New Zealand, they completely shut down, you know, people coming in just because of one case of a person coming abroad back home that tested positive for COVID. And they were like, nope, shut it down, close the doors. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, it could be that easy. But, you know, America.
That's one of the reasons I'm kind of lucky where I'm at, Prince Edward Island. We're kind of isolated because we're an island. So cases always remained low here because we shut the borders down. You can get to us on the bridge. Well, everybody coming across the bridge now has to show the paperwork saying, I got my shots. Right? Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. Final thoughts. Justin. Who's gonna get a booster?
I guess I will whenever.
Yeah, I will.
I think it's 8 months after your second dose, so I have still a little while for mine because I think I got mine in like June. So
there's talk that you're going to have to get the booster every year, and I will be going and getting the booster every year.
I get the flu shot, yeah.
Just like you get the flu shot.
Yeah. I remember getting the flu shot when they were like, you know, kind of before COVID kind of became a big like, well, it was still a big thing, but before we had kind of an idea of what was going on, people were like, oh, if you get the flu shot, that might help you, or it's just good to have the flu shot vaccine anyway. I'm like, I'll go get it. Like, I'll deal with the wee bit of, you know, pain that you get just to be sure that I'm not spreading it to anybody who can get sick.
Moral of the story is vaccines bad. Take injected crystals.
That is sound advice. Let's get Kelly in here. Yeah, where's Kelly? Tell us all about the best crystals to inject into yourself. No, that's what happens. He pops on. We're like, okay, Kelly, important question. Which crystal should we inject into our veins to prevent COVID from getting us?
I hope it's the purple one.
You would just
whatever. I don't fucking care. If it's purple, I'll take it.
We would just log off immediately and just be like, nope, bye.
We should try to get him on next week. He had somebody that practices Reiki in his shop, like today or yesterday.
I told him a couple of weeks ago. So there's a mini like market thing that pops up every Thursday around where I am. It's not the best. Like I went down there and there's like not a lot of food. It's mostly like random services. But there's a Reiki, like, you know, crystal and magic auras and stuff like that. And I was just like, I want to summon Kelly right now and just film the whole thing. But I need to get back to work.
let's all assume a standard of prayer. Father God, we call on Kelly to join this fucking stream because every week I send him the link and he doesn't join. Amen.
I just see Ɩnternational's face like start just going wild.
What? I can't pray, Ɩnternational?
No, not allowed.
Is this a theistic prayer? I don't know. Whatever. Fuck it. No, you're right. I wish. No, I send Kelly the link. I know he's probably super busy with his job. I think in the
He's
last
still
couple
arguing.
weeks he was.
He's
Yeah,
still
He's
arguing
moving in the
with
new building.
he's
also-
that's
Oh,
right.
he's moving
He's moving
okay.
in the new building. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I know he's been super busy. But you know, he gets the link every week, just like Giggler. Giggler. Anyways,
And
No.
stitics? Did you send stitics to link this week? I
yeah.
haven't seen in the
Every
chat.
week I give Stitix the link too. One of these
Oh.
days.
Okay.
Are you
One day.
wrapping me up? Is that what you're
Yeah.
doing?
Yes.
You bastard.
Now we're just talking about wrapping up.
What? That's
Final
what
thoughts?
we do. What's wrong with talking about wrapping? You know what? That's okay. I love you. Anyways, we're wrapping up. And we're talking about wrapping up. And you can hear us talk more about wrapping up at our Discord server, tiny.cc/IFDC. So if you haven't joined, we're going to pop in there for a spell. If you want to continue talking about this, share your experiences with COVID, share your experiences with getting vaccinated, share your experiences with just stupid people in general. We'll be in the Discord. We'll discuss that. Let us know your thoughts, any topics you suggest we want to talk about, or if you want to come on and talk about, please, by all means, we welcome all of you. Tweet us at @we_sober. Support and share this link. I'm attempting to make fun / old clips of the show since we've been around for slightly over 2 years now. It's amazing, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Me and Justin been doing the thing for 2 years, huh, Justin? Doing the thing.
Yep. So if you're gonna make this go on longer, you got to start rapping.
The floor is yours, Jenna. Let's
right,
play.
Let
Let
me
me
just
set a beat.
Bust a
Let me
freestyle,
just-
Jenna.
Justin, put on a beat.
And a 1 and a 2 and a bye.